Let's talk the economy for a few minutes. In the last 2 years, we've created a record number of millions of new jobs, which is great. But salaries, mostly notably among minimum wage earners, have remained static. Here's Rick Smith with his guest Catherine Hadley to explain why that's a real problem.
So about a month ago, you may remember, I was in Washington, D.C. for a Patriotic Millionaires event. They have a conference every year, and they go through, this is what we're doing, this is what we're working on. And one of the things I learned that they're working on while I was there is they're talking about taxes in a place called Whiteville, North Carolina. And it's nonpartisan. They in fact, they want everybody of every political stripe to come in to talk about taxes on a non-political basis and how we best fund the things we need, what rates we should have, and point out the fact that the very well-to-do have been walking away for a very long time, and maybe it's time we bring this back. I've been asking for a long time, what could you reunite the country? This could be part of that. And here to share some thoughts on the project that they're doing, I've asked Kat Hadley to come talk with us. Kat is the state campaign manager for the American Agenda, the good folks over at the Patriotic Millionaires. Kat, thanks for taking time for us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So this is, I've been asking for a long time, what are the things that could draw the country, reunite the country around a common cause, around a common idea? We talk about common sense, something's got to be common. And I think taxation, when you explain it in certain ways, can be that thing that brings us together. So tell me, what are you guys doing and what is this American agenda that you're working on?
Yeah. I am the manager of the Great Economy Project. It's at americanagenda.com. And the goal here is really to start a movement that's going to focus on getting people to, really understand and then take action to reduce extreme wealth inequality by raising taxes on the super rich and increasing minimum wage. More importantly, this is also about reminding people, especially people often left out of the political equation, to reclaim that political power that they've been told for years that they don't have. I think that a lot of people that we run into, they come in, and a lot of what we're doing too is giving them data to back up their lived experience. So it's not just, I'm struggling, this must be a me issue. It's that there are systems that are working against you. And, in reality, everyday Americans are getting a raw deal right now. The system is rigged against them. The economy is rigged against them. And so, you don't have something where you can bootstrap it. That just doesn't exist. And I would argue maybe never did, but I think what we're doing here is really trying to remind people, that it's beyond just like, oh, your vote matters. This is also saying, you have a voice. These people work for you, and you need to remind them of that. And so that's what we're working on in Whiteville, and it's been going great. I've been loving it, so yeah.
No, I mean, when I talk about taxes with people, I always talk about the good socialist president, Dwight David Eisenhower, and how the tax code worked back then, where the bigger your shoulders were, the more water you carried back to the cave. The more we give, the more we expect from people. And that somewhat resonates, but I know you guys have gotten elbow deep into this community. You hold events, you hold these meetings, you bring people together, and you've actually gotten them to go out and carry on the message and create little activists, because I know you guys are coming out with a movie that I cannot wait to see. But do you find that that there's an epiphany moment when you're talking to people? Because politically, folks are dug in. I have Republican friends who believe, no, we can't raise taxes. Raising taxes is bad always. It's never good. It's going to kill jobs. It's all the, and on the other side, no, we have to have high taxes. Do you find that people are dug in and after a bit of, education, maybe they come somewhere to the middle on this? Do you see that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think another thing to point out here is that a lot of people do agree on this issue. Our real strategic thing is, can we make this their issue? Can we point out that the other things are noise and distractions, or if we increase taxes, how much better these other things that they're struggling with will get, right? And so I think it's a few things, but really, we put together this curriculum and tried to see like, what's the moment? But a lot of them just, when we explained pretty much just even like the slide of like FedEx, like if you had a FedEx package shipped in 2022, you paid more in federal taxes than FedEx did. Like those moments for people, I think are really eye-opening to how this system is actually working. And so, you see people kind of go through a transformation of, maybe this is an issue, but it's not my issue, to, okay, I'm upset about this. And then what do we do about it? And
Right.
it's been incredible. Yeah.
Yesterday on the program, we had someone on from Jobs with Justice, and they just came out with a report that showed the tale of two retirements, where the average everyday working person has a 401k. I think they could put up 22 grand a year into this 401k tax deferred. But if you're in the CEO class, you can put away unlimited numbers. And they pointed out a couple of these CEOs, like the guy from Centene, the largest Medicaid provider in the country. He had a deferred pension plan of $328 million. And that wasn't even the biggest. This guy from the, what was it? This Ryan Holmes, I guess it was, had like I think it was like $400 million in deferred money that, you go, how is it you get away with paying taxes and getting, and then as they explained, they go to Florida and you'll pay anything. And there's always a loophole for the very well-to-do, where average everyday working people, man, we get hit every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think too, I mean, the point of this movement is to demand that, like, it won't happen overnight, as we know, hardly any movements are overnight, but it's about demanding that they start to actually take the steps to close those loopholes. Because I think that, when we talk about, for some people, we'll talk about, we do a survey and it's like, what's the best decade? Like when did you think America was thriving? When was that? And, if they talk about a lot, some of them will talk about, oh, like the after World War II, this is when I really felt like things were good. And so we'll talk about, let's look at the tax rates then. They were incredibly high on the wealthy, and so like, let's look at the difference that made. And I'm from Detroit, we've been really hip, but we saw Detroit really get built up, those Sears kit houses and Dearborn, things like that, and these communities, they need that reinvestment, and they need the rich to pay their fair share.
Yeah, for me, I kind of hate that fair share argument, because that's subjective. Look, the reality is, we need investment in communities so that rich people can get rich. Because they didn't just happen. The investments that taxpayers have made over the years, with our roads and our bridges, our education system, our court system, you can go on and on about the investments that were made and that need to be maintained. Sorry, if you benefited from it, and you benefited from it mightily, you should have to pay for it. I got in trouble with someone not too long ago because I said, if I were back in the Eisenhower era, I would be thrilled to pay the 92% tax rate. And so, oh, that's idiotic. I can't believe it. I go, no. I would be thrilled, because it would mean I was making a freaking ton of money. I would be really rich. And what you guys have, or what Patriotic Millionaires have put forth, is, I think, like, going up to like 80% over $100 million a year or something. I would love to pay that, because it means I'm making $100 million a year.
Yeah. Well, and if you're making that much, there's a reality where how much are you going to miss that money compared to somebody like, that's working a minimum wage job, who every penny counts. My background, I worked minimum wage for a decade of my life. And so I remember, working 60 hours and coming up short on rent. And that's the hardest I've ever worked. And I'm not saying I don't work hard here. I absolutely do. But it's a different thing, right? And every penny counts when you live like that. And so, Morris Pearl, who's the president of our board, talks about, the difference $50 is to somebody that's super rich versus somebody that's working for a living. It's just inherently a different thing. And so, where like the $50, he's glad to have it, it's just completely different.
Yeah.
It's a different dollar.
And we learned that during the pandemic. We saw what just a couple $100s a month did to child poverty rates. We saw with just a little bit of investment and help for families did to bring down childhood hunger, to bring down all kinds of societal problems. It's just remarkable to me. You're listening to the Rick Smith Show. We're with Kat Hadley. Kat is the state campaign manager for the Great Economy Project. You can check out their website, AmericanAgenda.com. We'll get links out on social media how you can take a look at that. Now, I want to get back to what you're doing because I think it's really important and hopefully scalable and something you can move into other areas as well. As you're going through this stuff, do you see kind of an empowering sense? Because one of the things that I talk about all the time is, when people take on an issue, they get a sense of empowerment that they can change things. When they feel that power, as a labor activist, I've always felt that power of that I can change things. Do you see that happening in a place like Whiteville?
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, that's the thing that drew me to this, because I remembered as I'm not going to say when I was new to organizing, it was realizing that A, I wasn't alone in the experiences that I was having, and that B, policy can change this. This is a changeable system. And so we've seen people go from, I'm showing up for a free meal, maybe I'll listen to what they'll have to say, to, we have, people like April who, her and her partner are out flyering at an event with their kid, people are bringing their kids and handing out flyers and just talking to their neighbor about the minimum wage and about a path forward. So it's been really incredible to watch that. We talk a lot about, how can we make sure that, that they'll come up with all these great ideas. They're like, we want to talk to city council about this, because even though they can't change it, maybe those people will be asked to run, and then they'll know this is an issue that the people in their city care about.